just tell the audience out there to please like and subscribe and share with the world Serious and Silliness YouTube podcast.
Yes, you guys have to subscribe to Serious and Silliness.
Thank podcast. You very much, Aleesha. Yes, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And don't go. All right. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce the great, the beautiful Aleesha Young. How are you doing, Aleesha?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, no, thank you. Really. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you on. When I started my podcast 2 years ago, I've always been a huge fan of bodybuilding. And the people that I wanted to get on, that I wanted personally to get on, there was the three guys that I wanted to get on was Dave Palumbo, Jason Arns, Vinny Galante, and then you were the girl personally that I wanted to get on.
That's so sweet. I'm seriously flattered.
Yeah, no, yeah, because I was like, okay, those are the four that I want, like a personal achievement, if you will.
I'm glad I made the list.
You did. So so I got all four. We got
awesome.
We're done.
See, now we're gonna have to set bigger goals.
yeah. I know. Well, I did have you. First of all, you are the first bodybuilder after I interviewed Jay Cutler. So there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So you are a bodybuilder, women's bodybuilder. You have been for many years. When did you get your pro card?
Yeah, most people would know that right off the top of their head, right? I and this just being honest, I don't keep super close track of every show I've done and the significant ones. So let's see. I had my daughter in 2012. I got my pro card at the USA's in 2014, I believe. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so you were somewhat famous, if you will, beforehand. Am I accurate?
Yes. It took me a very long time to get my pro card.
Okay.
It really did. I had been competing since 2007.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I want to say, so it took me a good 7-8 years to get my pro card. And I'll tell, some of these newer competitors, it was conditioning, but it also was age and muscle maturity. And you can't always rush that,
Yeah. That seems to be a constant with women's bodybuilding. Whereas with men, once they hit 40, things start going down. But with women, it seems to be the opposite.
True.
With women, they start hitting their late 30s, early 40s, and it starts getting better for women's bodybuilding.
And I'm glad you bring that up because I think it's, at least in my opinion, it's something that isn't talked about enough. And I do see, we get excited, right? When a young female comes in and looks amazing but you also have to, I think, respect a woman's body at the age that they're at and let it mature how it's supposed to mature. And it's no secret that women in this sport actually get better with age.
They do. They definitely.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of factors in that. The skin gets thinner, the muscles mature, the hormones, your estrogen drops. The best way I can explain it is when I was 24, your body's in a position of, I want to have babies. I want to make babies, which is the exact opposite of what you want on a bodybuilding stage.
Okay, so very good point.
Your estrogen is higher, your body fat is higher, progesterone, all the things that are against what you want on a bodybuilding stage, your body is doing naturally at that age. So I think it's important, especially, I know myself, if I was looking at the pro girls right now, when I was 22 years old, I may feel defeated before I even started. Because it's shoot, I have all this muscle, but striated glutes is not in my vocabulary.
Right.
So I feel for the sport, we should, of course, reward conditioning. I'm not against it, but also reward muscularity, and all these other things that go with it too. And just give these girls a chance to mature at the level that they should, instead of rushing that. Okay. Just from a health perspective, really.
Sure. No, and I agree. And it happens to be true. And we're talking strictly women's bodybuilding, a little bit about women's physique too, but women's bodybuilding, it seems to be the best ones seem to be over 40. I'm a huge fan and friend of Rita West. And Rita, I believe, is in her late 40s. And she has one of the best, if not best, rear double bi.
Amazing.
From ankles from ankles all the way up to wrists. It's striated, unbelievable,
incredible.
And no, for the most part, no other girl younger could really hang with that shot.
Right.
And her and I have talked about that too. And she basically gave me the same response you did, that it's hormonal, it's different, so on and so forth. What is your opinion of so many classes for women, though?
Like they're not being enough? Or
no. There's plenty. Like basically, I mean, there's one for every body type. I mean, you go from bikini to figure to physique to what's the new one? Wellness, fitness, bodybuilding. What is your opinion? You think it's a good thing, a bad thing?
I think each category, and I use figure as an example because I think it has had the most drastic change. So if you look at the figure girls that were winning even 5 years ago, they wouldn't even place in who's competing right now. So, that's an evolution of sport in general, right? Like everything's constantly evolving. I mean, I do like trying to keep everybody included, if you will, as far as body types go. But I think we could do a better job of keeping each category true to itself. I don't feel like we would have to bring so many new categories if each category just had its set look, if you will.
But the reason why I bring that up is because when you were competing in 2007, they didn't have that many. It was basically bodybuilding. They've had fitness forever, which is really impressive. Fitness is really impressive.
From a fan point of view, I would watch fitness all day.
Yeah.
Oksana actually did one of my routines that I haven't been able to showcase yet, but I admire those girls so much. They're incredible.
I can only imagine the work that goes into. But anyway, so you had bodybuilding, you had fitness, and then in 2007, did you have figure yet?
Yes.
So you had figure, but there was no women's physique. There was no wellness. And did you have bikini yet in 2007? I don't think so.
Good question, because I did nationals in the USA's several times. I mean, obviously towards the end, we did definitely have bikini, but I'm not 100% sure what year they brought that in.
So what I'm getting at is when you were competing, it was a little bit more difficult, a lot more difficult. Let's be real. Because like you said, I don't have striations. Well, today you could just go into wellness.
Right.
And then if you get your pro card, as you develop, you could just choose what category you're getting. Because once you get your pro card, you could, bounce out. And we see that with men doing it. We see that with women doing it, and so on and so forth, So it was a little bit more difficult back then. And the further back you go, the more difficult it got, because there came a point where there was just women's bodybuilding, period. That was it,
And it was, really, like you said, really competitive. I mean, the USA's, they literally only gave one pro card. You might have been the best light heavyweight, but you have to win the overall. It wasn't like, let's give it to the top 5.
It's a different story. No, that doesn't take away from what people achieve today. It's just a different time. The young competitors can't do anything about it. Like they can't reverse time.
Well, and on that point, I mean, I do think there's more people involved now.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was the whole idea, right?
More competitive.
Yeah. And it brought in a little bit more mainstream, like when I'm in the gym and I talk to like the young guys, They all know who Bumstead is. None of them know who Big Ramy is. You know, they all know
Wow.
Bumstead. They all know Bumstead.
Crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Crazy.
Anyway, let's get back to you. So you turned pro in 2012, you think, and then
2014. Yeah.
2014 you had your baby in 2012. I'm sorry. Okay, so you
Yeah.
turned
No,
pro.
you're fine. Yeah.
So you turned pro in 2014. How successful were you as a pro since then? Do you have many wins or
I've only won one pro show.
Mhm.
So I won the USA's in 2014 and I got my ass kicked at the Tampa Pro a couple weeks later,
Mhm.
which I deservingly so.
Mhm.
I mean, I take full responsibility, full criticism. Wasn't lean enough, wasn't conditioned. You know, that's what tags along with my name throughout my whole career.
Mhm.
So I did quite a few pro shows. But I won the Chicago Pro in 2019.
Mhm.
Andrea Shaw took second. And it wasn't honestly until that point that I really could step back and say, you know, I maybe could be competitive, like really competitive. Because I knew bodybuilding took a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort. And first and foremost, I'm a business person. So it had to make financial sense to me first in order for me to put forth everything else. So that was the first time in 2019 that I said that I really believed, because some other people had told me, and you could be top 5 in the Olympia, you could stand next to anyone, all these things, but you have to believe that for yourself. And I can honestly say it wasn't until 2019 that I was able to take a step back and say, I think I can stand with any of these girls and be competitive. And I have a ton of respect for all of them. But that was the first time for myself that I felt like I think I have a decent enough physique and all the parts to be able to be competitive. So, but it took quite a few years, honestly, to get to that point of self-belief. And that was 2019 was probably the first time I was really able to nail my conditioning like I wanted to. Okay. And I'd been so highly criticized of that for so long that once I finally achieved that look, I was like, okay, we got this sort of figured out. We'll just improve upon it.
Okay. And are you going to be competing anytime soon, or you're going to be taking some time off?
So this year, I had actually started my prep for the Indie Pro.
Oh, okay.
I was really excited about that show because it was their first year having female bodybuilding. And I wanted to be supportive of that because I think, any pro show willing to take on female bodybuilding, I'd love to support. So that was my plan. I got 7 weeks into my prep and I was feeling really good about it. I was responding very well. I was feeling really good about it. And unfortunately, my boyfriend committed suicide.
Oh my God.
I know. Yeah.
Oh my God. I did not know that. I am so sorry.
So
is this the father of your daughter?
No. This was actually the first time I had dated since 2019. So but I've known the guy for years and years and years. So we had finally decided, okay, we'll date, be more than friends. We'll try this. A great human being, amazing human being. And that's the thing, right? With bodybuilding, there's always going to be another show. There's always going to be a stage there. At some point you have to also be realistic with your life situations and not ruin relationships and things. And I always, new competitors that come to me, I try and remind them of that often. I love bodybuilding and I'm super competitive too. And I get it. But at the end of the day, if we're 50 years old with a room full of trophies and the most decorated bodybuilder, but we have another 50 years to live and we've destroyed all these relationships and all these connections to get on stage, like what do we have? So I try and remind people, I might be the only person standing on stage, but it took a team of people to get me there. Just don't forget about those people. This, to me, bodybuilding is very much a team sport. I mean, I have a lot of people that give me all the tools I need to be successful. And yes, I might be the only one up there receiving the praise and the grace, but all those people made it possible, So yeah, that was a difficult decision, but I think it was the right decision for me.
Let's I had no idea, and I apologize.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay, because it's very valid. And I also don't want to be dishonest about it. And it has given me an opportunity to be more vocal about mental health. And, I don't have a huge platform, but it's at least allowed me to provide some awareness to it, and maybe if I can even help one or two people along the way seek help, or being someone that experienced it from that point of view, I feel like that's great. If we can turn that negative situation into some way of helping or promoting people to talk about it, then it's a win-win.
I'm just going to, I don't want to stay on the topic. I'm just going to ask you, how old was he?
37.
Okay. I don't know if you did have any, I did one show where I had a conservative girl on. She has her own podcast, and I had to do a little bit of research. And the majority of people that self-delete, because if you say the other word, they suppress the video.
Right.
70% are men.
Really?
Yeah. And 70% are men, and the majority of them are over 40.
Or over 40.
Over 40. Yeah. And the three biggest reasons are, whether it's usually either financial.
Mm-hmm.
The other reason is some kind of illness, maybe a terminal disease.
Yeah.
And the other one is a bad breakup or divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually when a man gets divorced, he usually loses everything.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So 95% of the time he loses his house, his kids, his wife, a lot of money. Everything. And once you get to 40, it's like, it's not starting from scratch. It's starting from red.
Absolutely.
And all these things. So there is a lot of awareness that nobody talks about. And I didn't know this until I did the research.
And that's what I hope, right? Like, because in his situation, he had a really hard past. And that was the thing. Like, there wasn't a bad breakup. There wasn't. I wish I could sit here and tell you that XYZ happened and that's why it happened. But in this particular case, that wasn't the case.
Yeah. Well, those what I'm giving you are the generalizations. There are plenty of reasons.
Well, and that's why I say even more so why I hope. And I could do a better job of it. I think I'm at a place now that I've grieved, I've healed, but now I'm at a place that I would actually like to speak more openly about it. And like, in the sense that you don't always know, you don't always know, even though you are really close with that person, really what they're dealing with internally. And I do feel like society has put such a taboo on those sort of conversations, especially like you said, with men.
Yeah.
There's this stereotypical, you have to be the tough guy. You have to be the provider. You have to it's okay for you to be defeated and sad and broken, ask for help, and I do really feel like that. I do really feel like men have been portrayed or are less willing to come forward and ask for help when they need it.
Sure, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Let's change directions, because I want it to be more of a happy interview. Yeah. So your background, your father was a bodybuilder.
He was.
Mm-hmm. Was he a professional bodybuilder?
He was not. He got a later start in bodybuilding. He was always very athletic. And then he actually ended up losing over 100 pounds. So, married, kids, gained weight, lost a bunch of weight, which was amazing to witness as a kid.
Mhm.
just that transformation. And so he competed at like the NPC level, won a few Utah shows, and then
Mhm.
unfortunately he got colon cancer, so stage
Mhm.
4. They went
Jesus,
in.
no matter what fucking topic I
I
touch
won't
on.
keep it negative. I won't keep it negative. I won't. I won't. I promise I won't. But
It's okay.
they
I'm
went
sorry.
in. They went in. They removed because he had Crohn's colitis like my whole life.
Yeah.
So they went in. They removed his entire large intestines. Here's the silver lining of the whole thing. The doctor was like, "Listen, you can't compete again. Like this is impossible." Blah blah blah.
Mm.
And of course, my dad, me being from the same bloodline, was like, "F you." Like I'm going to prove you wrong, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So it was actually really cool. I think the video's out there somewhere. Anyway, my first show back after I had my daughter was my dad's first show back after
Really?
recovering from cancer. So we did a routine together
That's
because,
fantastic.
and in no shape or form, so nobody judge or hold us accountable, but like I
Mm.
was certainly not my best. My dad was, in his opinion, not his best, but it was such a great experience. And just given that we had both overcome such big things and
Mhm.
we actually got to do a routine together as dad and daughter was amazing.
That's fantastic. That's tremendous. Yeah, you're right. That is a great silver lining.
Yes.
So, was he a big inspiration of you becoming a bodybuilder, or did you want to kind of do something else and then this kind of fell in? How did it work?
I think so as a young girl, I always had a ton of muscle, like a
Mm.
lot of muscle.
Mm.
And I can remember as young as 8 years old, boys asking me to like flex and like kind of like teasing me, especially about having like big arms and stuff like that. So I was always really, really self-conscious of having muscle.
Mm.
My legs were always really big. And I was doing ballet and cheerleading, and
The
that just
girl
was
girl
not
stuff.
the body type that they were looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually, for a long time, was vegetarian, ran long distance. Like I was doing everything in my power to get rid of muscle.
And this is not an uncommon story.
Exactly.
I've interviewed several at this point, maybe in double digits, women bodybuilders, and this is not uncommon. This is
Yeah.
very, 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 yeah.
And
Donna Salib has a similar story.
I hope if nothing else, I can help a young girl establish and accept her body earlier than I did. Like if
Mm-hmm.
we can just shave a few years off of that
Mm-hmm.
and just make them feel more happy with themselves, and but at that age and in that time, like
And kids
I
are
would have gave,
cruel.
I would have gave my soul for a thigh gap, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean literally, like I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't.
And kids are cruel, like, yeah,
They are.
especially at that age, boys and girls,
Mhm, mhm. I mean,
Um,
in third grade, like I refused to wear short sleeve shirts,
mm, mm,
and it really did. So I think back to your point, my dad saw some of that destructive behavior and knew that I was not going to be a ballerina on Broadway.
mm.
Genetically, just like bodybuilding, genetics play a big part.
Oh yeah.
Genetically, Aleesha, you're 5'3". You were born at 160 pounds. You're not going to be a ballerina on Broadway.
Mm,
Just like
mm.
not everybody can be LeBron James. Like,
Right. Yeah.
so but he knew how competitive I was and how athletic I was. So he got me into my first powerlifting meets when I was in high school. And he was
Mm,
like, listen, I think you'll really like this. But I still was very opposed to having muscle. So I
mm,
was like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to put muscle on. But once I got a taste of it and knew I could be really competitive at it with less effort, he knew that it would stick. And
mm.
and he was absolutely right. So instead of criticizing me and like all those things, he just sort of shifted me in a direction that he knew I would be better at.
And I would guess that in that world you were more accepted.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
very
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
Very much.
That's what I thought.
And my peers were more like me. So you
Right.
naturally just feel more comfortable.
Sure.
It just
Okay.
was a better fit, putting
Yeah.
me in a room full of ballerinas. I was a the complete outfit, no matter what I tried to do.
Right. Well, this is a perfect segue because you've made a complete 180. Now here's what I mean. Next to Iris Kyle, it is my opinion, and I might be wrong, but it is my opinion that you're probably the most famous woman bodybuilder.
Oh gosh.
But hear me out. I don't think it's from bodybuilding. I think it's from modeling.
Okay.
Am I accurate if I say you've been more successful as a model than actually as a pro bodybuilder?
I guess, like, what's your definition of success? That's the
how many you have a huge social media following.
Do I don't
do you know what it took? Do you know how many freaking Instagram pages you have before I found your actual page?
Fake ones.
Yeah. Dude,
and
before,
that's
before I found your actual page, do you know how many?
And I'm actually thankful that we actually connected, because it is so frustrating to it's one thing to have a fake page, but it's a completely another thing when people are messaging people.
Yeah.
Communicate, like, literally. I mean, there has been, we could spend a whole, but there has been times where people are like, but you said this and you said that and you said, and it wasn't me. It truly wasn't. And it's like, wow, that is so disturbing.
Yeah.
Like,
so, what that means, it's disturbing, but what that means is you're extremely famous on social media. I would assume that the majority of the money you make is through modeling, right? So it is my opinion, and probably the opinion of majority, that you are more successful and more famous from the modeling than actually bodybuilding. Yes. Because, and I'm going to say something, and it might not be very, you're still extremely feminine as a bodybuilder. When there are a lot of female bodybuilders, they kind of go through this transition because they love bodybuilding so much, where they lose a lot of that femininity. And most of them don't really care because they want to be a bodybuilder, so they don't care. So kudos to them, right? I'm a fan of bodybuilding, whether man or woman, no matter what.
Sure.
So I think there is I think that you found a avenue where you could be successful financially, have a great social media following, and still enjoy the idea that you're a bodybuilder.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, how accurate am I?
No, I think you're 100% accurate. I think that's very, very accurate. And I think it's very relevant. First and foremost, I think a competitor has to be honest with themselves first. And you have to draw the lines of what you're okay with and what you're not okay with, and make all those decisions. I mean, I'm as competitive as anybody else. Like, I compete to win, and I, put my best foot forward, but I have very distinct lines of what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with. And I think you will make yourself crazy trying to appeal to a panel of judges. Because you can go round and round and round. I mean, they're human as well, right? So and it's an opinion. You're judging a bodybuilding competition, and it's still an opinion. So first and foremost, I think you have to remain true to yourself, present a package that you're comfortable with. Of course, respect the judges, respect their opinions. They've been doing this for a long time. I think their feedback is very important, but remaining true to yourself. And as far as like the financial side of it, or the popularity, or, however you want to word that, if I'm being completely honest, most of my fans don't even know where I've placed, nor do they care.
Oh, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And I can even tell you honestly, and I know this is going to sound crazy and some people might not believe me, but I couldn't tell you my placing in a lot of shows. I honestly, like, when I moved this before I bought this, but when I moved, I was going to throw away all my bodybuilding trophies.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "No, you can't." Yeah,
Well, how
these
many
things
shows have
coming
you
up.
done? I mean, you've been competing since 2007. Yeah. It's got to be way in the double
Wow.
digits, right?
It's a lot. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I
So,
always did the USAs. I always did nationals trying to get my pro card.
sure.
I've done probably 4 or 5 pro shows, but that's the thing, I think some people, which is amazing, when I meet my friends that are like, yeah, I did this pro show this year and this is where I placed and this is, and I'm like, man, maybe I'm missing something, but I remember the ones that are like really significant.
Right. Right. Sure.
I remember finally placing in the top 5 at the Rising Phoenix and being really excited about that. Like anything monumental.
Right. 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 Right.
But yeah, I think with the fans and female bodybuilding, I think there is definitely different avenues
Mhm.
and they don't always coincide. Competing doesn't always translate to a fan base, unfortunately. And in my perfect world, if we can merge those two,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would that would be beautiful. It would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, I absolutely see. I'm on the bodybuilding side of fan because I'm a fan of bodybuilding, whether you are woman
sure.
or man.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of bodybuilding since I'm in junior high school. Like my favorite bodybuilder was Sean Ray.
Yes.
Remember watching, looking at the magazines, and that's how back far. When Sean Ray was just turned pro. I mean, I had to be 14 or 13.
And I
So
do worry a little bit that this new generation, are they getting that from female bodybuilding? Like, is a 19-year-old girl going to see any content or any magazines, like you said, or anything that is going to inspire them?
mhm.
And that's what I hope.
Well, I think the social media will. I mean, because they're all the young generations
True.
all over. This is funny. When I tell a young person, I'm talking like 21 and under, they have a YouTube channel, right?
Sure.
They go, "Oh, what's your YouTube channel?" And I give it to them. And I go, "Okay, subscribe." Right? I tell somebody over 40, and this is how it
They're
is.
like, what?
They got to put their glasses on. They go, okay, what is it?" And then they got to type it in like 4 times because they can't type it right, right. And then they go, and I go, "Just hit that red subscribe."
And they're like, what do you mean? What do you?
Yeah, and then they hit the subscribe. They go, "Oh, I gotta have an account. And now you gotta tell me I gotta set up an account."
Now I
Like,
got to log in.
yeah, and I'm like, it's easy. You have a Google. You have a Google. Yeah. Oh, what's your password? I
I
don't
don't
know,
know.
Mark. And I'm like, you know what? This is just forget it. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Right.
But with young people, it's like no problem. Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like,
I
yeah,
mean, I was so resistant to a TikTok. Like I was like, okay, I cannot do another social media. Can't do it.
yeah.
Can't learn it. My little 14-year-old niece was like, Auntie, I'll sit down with you. We'll
Right.
spend an hour.
Mhm.
I'll teach you all the ropes. But even that, I'm still like, it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
over my head.
Yeah, I absolutely like. Do you think I edit this stuff myself? No, I have a kid. I don't. I had one college girl that was doing it. Now I have a young guy who's in he's a tech. He does it for me. I pay him.
And to them, it's like second nature.
It's nothing. It's
It's like
nothing.
boom, boom.
He has
What
it
would
done
take
in
me
minutes.
2 hours?
Yeah, yeah,
She does a
yeah.
video in
It's
7 minutes.
it's unbelievable. Anyway, okay, so here's why I respect women's bodybuilding so much. I've told this story to Rita. I've told this story to Sheena. I told the story to Donna, Leah, Teresa, all the girls that I've interviewed. Yeah, and I'm probably missing some. Here's the reason why I respect women bodybuilding so much. They don't have to go through, women bodybuilders don't have to go through what the bikini girls have to go through, what the figure girls have to go through, what the wellness girls have to go through. And what I mean by that is when you go out in public, the stares, the comments, the bikini girls get the good stares and the good comments, right? They get the guys drooling and so on and so forth, right? And the girls being jealous, they get the good stuff. Women's bodybuilders get trolls, they get terrible comments, they get awful comments. Sometimes I can't tell you how many comments I had to delete under my YouTube channel. The first few interviews, I just disabled the comments altogether because I just didn't want, right?
Yeah.
And then you still have to,
yeah.
And then get up and go to the gym like nobody said anything. And then you can't even escape it when you want to go on your phone. It's just relax and hang out on your phone. And then you're getting these comments all over your phone, and you still have to, and then get up and go to the gym and make your meals and so on and so forth and blah, 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 blah. And you have this plethora, the majority of people just saying terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
No other, maybe physique girls get it, but no other category of woman gets it like women's bodybuilders get it.
True.
And
they
still, so obviously that means that you are mentally stronger than most, in my opinion.
Right.
Okay. In my opinion, that you just said, you know what? I don't care what these people say. And it's not just like one person said one thing. This is constant.
Right.
Constant,
Yeah.
And like I said, I've deleted when I put a post on Instagram, when I put a post on Facebook, when I do the actual YouTube channel, and I gotta delete them, delete. And I leave the good ones. And it's terrible because you've embraced it, you love it, and not many people understand. And when they don't understand it, they don't get it, and you look different, not like everybody else. They poo-poo it, they shit on it, and they say these terrible things.
Right.
How do you deal with that and still just just move on? And I mean, I would, I would even, I hate to say it, but it probably has even happened in front of your daughter, and you have to go.
Oh yeah.
You have to go. No, don't worry about it. Let's go.
I will say, as far as my daughter is concerned, it has given me beautiful opportunities to help teach her that it's okay that not everybody looks the same. Mm-hmm. And it's actually okay too that not everybody is receptive to that. And that actually reflects more about themselves than it does us. Because I would be lying and completely naive to say that she hasn't experienced a lot of that. Like, I mean, I can give you a very good example of her still being in a car seat and me being very, very lean. I mean, I nursed her until she was 8 months old, but I competed when she was a year old. So I was in good shape for just having a baby in a car seat. And she was very premature, tiny little thing. So the cashier at a grocery store said something to the effect, "Oh, she's so beautiful," and whatever. And I said, "Thank you." And then it was sort of like she said, "I just think adoption is such a beautiful thing."
And I God.
Think, and she kept going and going and going. And, so I took a breath and just said, I said, I delivered her like she's my baby, and just corrected the situation. But, and there's been situations since my daughter's been older of funny when she was 4. So if you want the truth, ask a toddler or a drunk person, right? So a lady was like glaring at us, and just, there's one thing to like look and disagree, or, I honestly, if I'm being honest, I try and be approachable and friendly, or because I feel like maybe that's their first experience with a muscular woman, right? So I try really hard. Am I perfect at this? No, but I try really hard to shift their opinion and just like kill them with kindness, make it uncomfortable that they're glaring at me, and instead like smile. Or like I had an older lady glaring at me at Costco just a couple weeks ago, but then she was struggling to put her water on the cart. So I could have been a brat and been like, "You were being mean." But instead I was like, "Here, let me help you with that." And I'm like, "Nice to meet you. Like, what's your name?" And then you have this lady who's an older lady who maybe had a perception, and maybe we just changed that for a lifetime. Right. So you can, I mean, I'm not discrediting, and I'm not saying, sometimes when I go, especially being in Utah, super conservative, it's small, it's, all these things, and not everybody's going to agree with it, but you have an opportunity to help shed light and be approachable, be, to a certain extent. And what I always try and tell people, even people that have openly been like, "Why would you do that?" Or you know, why would you want to lift muscles? Why would, or lift weights and get muscles like that? And like, those sort of questions. And my response generally is like, I could never run a marathon. Like, I just genetically am not built like that.
Mhm.
I am not interested in playing 18 holes of golf.
Mhm.
Do I respect somebody that trains 6 days a week and perfects their craft and puts in the time and the energy and all the things into that sport? I respect them for the effort that they're putting into it. And that's all I expect from anybody else. You don't have to understand or even agree or anything like that. Just respect the work and the dedication that goes into it. That's it.
Okay. Now, on the flip side, there is a whole, I don't know, there's a whole category of men that are completely in love with women that look like you.
So let me ask you this. Let's switch the okay.
Okay.
So why, I find it so interesting that why are so many men so nervous or so opposed to just accepting that? Or even I call them closet muscle lovers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's true. No,
So
it's true.
I just think it's interesting. I love psychology and I love what draws people to certain people and why and what, and it genuinely fascinates me.
Good. Yeah, you're talking to the right person. Did you see those 2 degrees up there? I mean, they're all paid for, and I don't
I
use
love
them.
it.
So you could actually. One of them is in psychology. If you want, I'll give
Just
it to
let me
you.
borrow those.
Yeah. That doesn't help me when I'm shoveling
I'll
shit in
just
the
borrow
sewer in New
those.
York. Yeah.
But the thing I love about muscle and like that side of it that has always really, really fascinated me is like, if I think of a football fan, I have an image of like middle-aged, beer drinking, balding football fan, right? If I think of a female muscle fan, there's all levels. Like, some people are drawn to it physically, mentally, emotionally. And I think maybe to your point, I don't know if I'm like popular or successful or like that, but I genuinely am fascinated what draws people to me
Mhm.
and why. Like, and the answer is never the same, which
Mhm.
keeps it very interesting to me. And I always try and approach a situation or a fan or whatever you want to call it with an open mind. Like,
Yeah.
you might be drawn to female bodybuilding because of biceps
Yeah.
or feet or whatever, and it might not make
Right.
sense to me.
Yeah.
But
The reason why guys hide it is because they don't want to go against
norm.
they don't want to go against the crowd. All right. So I mean, they'll say this, oh, that looks, they want to agree with the crowd, oh, that looks horrible. That, she looks like a man. I would
Sure.
never, so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. And I've done this and I said, and I wasn't talking about you, it was somebody else.
Right.
I said, look at this person's social media following. I'm not the only person that thinks she's attractive. Look,
Sure.
okay. So I said, look, see, and I've done that with, and it's not just women with muscle. It's women that have very, very curvy,
Sure.
the big booty, the big boobs, and like I work with.
It's an extreme.
Yeah, I work with 60 something guys, and the majority of them will just be like, "Oh, I don't like that. That's no, it's disgusting. I don't like that." And then I'll say, "Look at the person's Insta," and I'll show it to them. 2 million followers, 500,000 followers, and I'm like, I'm obviously not the only person because I'm not afraid to go against the groups, right? And then that gets me. Then I get chat. Well, with guys, that just gives them enough ammunition to rip me apart. But I don't care because that's how guys bond. They just rip each other apart. It's amazing. But they do. Anybody else would cry in the locker room where I work, but with me, it's unbelievable. True. So that's the reason I honestly believe that. Like, and I think, when a man likes to be likes to be dominated, or likes a woman that is stronger. It's more of a internal insecurity. They think that it's an internal insecurity thing, and they don't want the public to know.
True.
You know,
Yeah,
did you ever hear? Did you ever see? I've done this before, and I've interviewed him twice. He's been on my show twice. Did you ever see when King Kamali was on Generation Iron?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. King Kamali was on Generation Iron, and they talked about women's bodybuilding. And I forgot the name of the guy who runs Generation Iron, and was asking him. This was a couple of years back when Generation was really booming, and he said, is women's bodybuilding, what is it about women's bodybuilding? Is it a sport, or is it the bodybuilding, or is it or is it a fetish? And King Kamali was very honest. He goes, it's both. And then he went on.
Don't you think that is the answer for men and women?
Yeah, absolutely.
It very much, to me, this is just my opinion. But anytime you are looking at a body on stage that's borderline naked, whether it's male or female,
right. If it looks good.
There always has been and always will be a sexual aspect to it.
Absolutely, 100%.
There's no way around it. So anybody,
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. So, but then he went on to tell a story about how a friend of his that would do cardio with him every morning. I don't know who the girl is. I don't think he mentioned her name. And it was a female bodybuilder, and they would do cardio together in the morning. And every day she would bring in this duffel bag, but she would never put it in the locker. She would always have it with her, and she would never open it. So finally, after a few days, he said to her, what's in the bag? Why don't you put it in the locker? What's in it? And she goes, well, open it. And he unzips it, and and then this, we're talking about when King Kamali was, early 2000s, when he was on top.
Yeah.
And he opens it up, and it's all cash. And she says, I joined this website on the dark, at the time they called it the dark web.
Sure.
And it's these men pay me to entertain them.
Right.
And it would be the typical arm wrestle, the fireman's carry, the beat the shit out of me, the whatever. And even at the time, she was getting $500 an hour.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, there's always going to be that closet aspect to it. It's always going to happen. And then even like guys like me, like, I don't care. Like, the guys can make fun of me at work, but we're just breaking each other's balls. I really don't care.
Right.
But I'm one of the very few that will say, no. This looks attractive. This looks good. I would love to. So, a few years back, there's a newspaper at work, right? Now, you got to understand, like, these are all blue collar knockaround guys, guys that look like me, all New York guys, blah, blah, blah. And there's a newspaper, it's the Daily News or something like that, the Post, and on the back, Serena Williams just won some huge tennis competition, right? And obviously she's very athletic and has a lot of muscle.
And she gets criticism. And I personally, I think she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah. And she's so, and my friend at the time, we don't work together anymore. He went on to become a supervisor somewhere else. And he said, hey, John, would you have sex with Serena Williams? I went, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
And he goes, you would? He goes, yeah. So this other guy comes in. This guy, Joey's retired. Aleesha's stomach was out to here. It's this big, fat, pot-belly Italian guy's stomach from the Bronx, right? Hairy. I mean, just not. And his name is Joe. And it goes, my friend said, hey, Joe, would you have sex with Serena Williams? No fucking way. She looks like a fucking dude. What are you, crazy? And then he got even more graphic. She'll fucking break my dick apart. And it's just like, have you looked at yourself, dude? Like, have you looked at her? I'm in my head, I'm going, have you looked at you in the mirror? Do you think she would even look twice at you? Like, really, you know what I mean? And it's just that whole, because I guarantee if Serena Williams was said, hey, Joe, I love big, fat, hairy men.
Please.
Yeah, he would not even bat an eye. He would.
It's so funny though. Don't you think muscle is funny? I think people I've found they either really like it and support it, or they really don't.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody seems to have a really strong opinion about it. There's not very many people that are just going to kind of be like
whatever.
nonchalant, like, yeah, maybe. You're going to get one or the other.
Right.
It's a pretty strong.
Yeah. And
I approve or I disapprove.
Right. And sometimes it's sincere and sometimes it's not.
True.
You know,
I
because
think,
like you said, a lot of the guys are in the closet. Now, as far as why men have this sexual attraction to women with muscle, I have to do my research. But it's not something new.
I think there's
This is not something new. This is been going on since the beginning of time. There's Amazon women and so on and so forth. And this is nothing new. But I would have to do my research. I can't give you a solid answer, but I will.
It's fascinating, though.
Yeah, I will.
I've been unofficially studying, documenting it for years because it genuinely fascinates me. It just is like, and I guess maybe that's comes back to me just accepting having it. And more to your point, like I could never walk back in a gym again and still, because I even, if I'm being up during my postpartum, after I had my little one, I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't compete competitively because what if it affects her growing up? And what if this and what if that, being a new mom, like thinking about this.
Right.
But then the real truth is it's like, I could never step foot in another gym at all. And I would still have more muscle than most of these moms out here. And I would still get the criticism. I would still get the things. So I made a pretty conscious decision to say, okay, I'm going to pursue what I love and what I'm good at and what I was naturally gifted with and help teach her and help her navigate that instead of stopping what I'm doing, what I'm loving, to try and appease to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You wouldn't be teaching her. You wouldn't be teaching her a good lesson if that was.
Yeah. I don't do it with a whole thing of like, oh, I'm a bodybuilder and I need to, be an outsider and prove people wrong. And which is part of the reason why I think I'm still really girly. I still love makeup. I still love hair. I still love, all the girl things. And that hasn't changed either. And so I try to just help teach her. But my daughter is really, really tall and super skinny and has these long, beautiful ballerina legs. And it is amazing and so fun to dress her because I'm like, all the things I wanted as a kid, like you have. And so it's been so fun, but it's given me a good opportunity to help try and teach her that not everybody's the same and not everybody is attracted to the same thing. And that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Life would be so boring if we all looked exactly the same, if we were all attracted to the same thing. Like it's great that we're all different.
No, it truly is. It really is. But a lot of, it's just, I don't know. It's strange because you don't get any backup either. Like, where are the feminists? If feminists, the body positivity thing is with women that are obese. They're never with the female bodybuilders. It's like where are they? Because we could use you. Well, you guys could use.
It's true. And some of the questions or some of the things, you wouldn't do that in public to somebody that was overweight or somebody that, some of the things people say to me, like in public, I'm just like, wow, like I'm not easily offended, but like you wouldn't say anything like that to somebody that was overweight or somebody, I have people that will just openly be like, why would you want that much muscle? Like, why have you done that? And it just, like, I generally laugh, like I'm used, it's fine. But at the same time, it's like, it's muscle's funny. It's interesting.
Yeah. And they also wouldn't say it if it was a man.
True.
I never
really thought about it like that, but that's very true.
On Instagram, they'll say it, but not in person.
And that's
especially with men, because men know there's a line. If you there's a line that you're going to draw. And if you draw that line, then I'm going to punch you in the face. And there's an understanding between that with men.
True.
Right? Where that understanding's not there if it's a woman.
Yes.
You
very
know,
true.
whether it's woman on woman or woman on man, that understanding isn't there, you know?
And that keyboard warrior mentality, like, you know, some of the things that people say on social media back in the day, they would have got punched in the face for saying.
Exactly.
So it does create a false sense of security.
It does. And Mike Tyson proved it on the plane last month. Do you remember that?
What happened?
You don't remember that?
No, what happened?
Mike Tyson was on a plane last month or the month before that. And he was on like first class, and there were these two young guys who, you know, only know Mike Tyson through, you know, what they know now. And, you know, I've seen him probably some videos as a fighter. And, you know, at the beginning, he was fine. They were probably drinking and have a good time. They were young guys. Yeah. And at the beginning, they took pictures with them and shook their hands. How you doing? But then they constantly were kind of bothering him and then saying stupid things. And at first he was like, all right, look, guys, you know, and he said it a couple of times. And then I don't know if they just don't know who you're dealing with. Yeah. I don't. And I think it's the idea that this young generation is so comfortable saying things because of social media. Mm-hmm. And then what happened was he beat the shit out of both of them.
Really? Yeah. Oh my God. I'm going to have to Google this because I haven't seen it.
And of course,
and they deserved it.
And of course, they're suing them and whatnot. Oh, and there's not one person that disagreed with it. There's not one person, because when you see it, you go, well, when, like I would
shut the fuck up. You deserve to get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, And it wasn't even like good because the seats were in the way and there were people in the way. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. Like if there was nothing blocking it, you've been a dead man. But anyway.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
wow. That's incredible. I'm gonna have to look.
I'll send it to you. I did a whole thing. I did a whole podcast on it.
That's awesome.
But okay, so you are a model, and women's bodybuilding can be a fetish.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Is there a line that you draw where you go, not doing that?
Yes. For myself, I drew that line a long time ago, which is probably my first advice to newer, if I'm mentoring, if you will. I feel really old saying that, but if I am, right? Like, and I get it. I'm getting old, but I like, if these new girls, my biggest advice to them is you sit down, hand in paper, and write down what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, and you define those terms for yourself. Because I have friends that are porn stars. I have friends that are dominatrix. I have friends that are housewives. I have friends that are religious. I have, I tend to mingle with all the above.
Right.
And what might be right for me may not be right for somebody else. Mm-hmm. But that's your decision to make for yourself.
Right.
And I think that's where there's often inner confliction is from outside opinions.
Yeah. And I think that's great advice. Mm-hmm. Because there's this saying, I'm not original. I didn't make this up. I got this from somebody else. Fast money equals slow problems.
Yes.
Whether you're a woman or man. So
that's beautiful. Yeah.
So with women, it's usually the sexuality part, because it's a very slippery slope, and and it's more celebrated now than ever, women's sexuality. So you have things like OnlyFans, and you have other facets where it's very easy for them to make money. And okay, well, I could charge this much money if I put on a bikini, but if I take off all my clothes, I could charge this much money. Well, if I do this, I could charge this much money, so on and so forth. And it's a kind of a slippery slope, and especially when you're younger, and the money's coming easy. If you're a young, beautiful woman, the money's coming easy. If you don't draw that line, sooner or later is going to come back to haunt you. Because what you put on, people have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get rid of things on the internet, and they still can't get it all. So with men, it's usually more of the drug dealing, gang banging,
Fairs, all that.
street
Yeah.
things. When you're a young man, you want to be tough, and you want to, you shoot the gun and fight, and then then you're 18, and okay, now you're doing 10 years in prison, right? And then this is what, and I've interviewed plenty of those guys, because I've interviewed 4 different mafia guys actually that have come out of jail. I actually have another guy tomorrow night coming on.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so that is great advice, that you need to sit down and really and put that hard no at that spot, because with all the women bodybuilders I've interviewed, the things that men ask for, it blows me away. It absolutely, there are certain things that I've been told that from women that I've interviewed, off record, that people have asked, and I go, I can't believe that even exists.
And some of it is not, in most people's opinion, even sexual. It can, I mean, like socks or shoes or very interesting. But who am I to judge?
I've had I don't want to get into detail, but I've had somebody tell me about involving animal cruelty with high heels.
Yes.
And she told the person, I don't care how much money you offer me, that's not happening. Yeah. That's not happening. And
I'll go fund your therapy account.
Yeah. And it just blows me away, I don't know, it's funny, because with me, I've always admired women like yourself as bodybuilders. And I've always found women like yourself attractive, but attractive as I would find any other woman attractive. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
I never wanted oh boy, I want to pay Aleesha Young $1,200 to kick me in the nuts. Which I don't want that.
I always tell guys, because I haven't really dated very much since I got divorced and stuff. And I get that question a lot. Like, what does it take to date a girl like you? That is the question, right? And I don't know. I can only speak for myself. But truly, please treat me like you would any other woman.
These are people that just don't understand human nature. You're still a woman.
Yeah.
You still
ask me my name. Ask me
when I did my first contest, I was 20 something years old. And the girl that helped me was a female bodybuilder. Her name was Cassie. She never turned pro, but she was a trainer in the gym that I used to go to. And she helped me. She helped me training. She helped me with the supplements. She helped me with everything. And I remember after I won, my father said to me the next day, he goes, send her something, send her flowers, send her something, right? And I said, really? He goes, and he said to me, she's still a woman. Meaning, just because she's a bodybuilder, she's still a woman.
Yeah.
And so I did. I sent her flowers and a thank you card and whatnot. And she was all
that's good.
Yeah. And so when people say that, what does it take? I think guys get confused with, how can I say this? If a woman makes a living strictly from sexuality, generally speaking, she probably has some toxic traits. So if a woman is a stripper, if a woman is a porno star, they usually go after the guys that are the bad boys, the guys that are not good for them, so on and so forth. That is not the case with the majority of women bodybuilders.
True.
The majority of women bodybuilders usually do a modeling career because bodybuilding pays nothing for them.
True. It ends up costing money.
Yeah. Right. So yeah. Okay. So if somebody is going to, you want some photos of me and my gym attire or my contest, outfit.
Yeah. You want to buy the posing suit that I've already worn that I spent $2,000 on that I can never wear again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that doesn't equate to be the same. It's not the same. I mean, can it cycle into that? Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen those girls cycle into that, and then they go down like it's a slippery slope. And like you said, they don't have that hard no, and they just keep going and just keep going and just keep going and just keep going. And we've seen that happen. But the majority of women that are bodybuilders just want to be bodybuilders.
Right.
You know, they just, you know, and a lot of that.
I always say, you know, bodybuilding is something I do. It's not who I am. So like, I love it. I enjoy it. But there's a lot of other things that make me tick and give me joy and give me, you know, if the only conversation we can have is about how much I bench press, you're not going to hold my interest very long. But that being said, I mean, the thought, which I almost filmed it just out of curiosity, but like the reality of me going on like a dating app, like can you imagine that? You know, I don't know quite how you approach that. Not that I'm saying I have the answers to this either, obviously, but it's like, I'm also not quite sure how, as a female bodybuilder, you navigate that. It can be really interesting.
You would do fine on a dating app. You know who doesn't do well on dating apps? Gosh. Who doesn't do well on dating apps are the regular guys.
But what does that mean?
What I mean is the regular guys that, you know, have regular bodies and have regular jobs, and because dating apps are strictly at the beginning, strictly physical.
Sure.
And more men find women more attractive than women find men attractive, if that makes sense.
True. Because men are naturally more physical.
Right. So, so men, and I forgot, was it, I forgot what dating app actually did the poll. And this is true. We could Google. I'll find this, and I forgot. And 60% men on dating apps found 60% of women to be attractive.
Okay.
Like people that they would message and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
With women, it was like more like 5%.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's completely different. So with men, I tell men all the time, like guys, young guys, if you're not like a good looking guy, dating apps aren't going to work for you because you don't have that ability to talk and you know, because the first thing they're going to look at is he good looking? Is he good looking? Is he good? Swipe, right? And then here's what happens. He's good looking. Do you think you're the only girl who wants to?
Right. I get it. Yeah. That makes sense.
So the good looking guy who's 6 foot tall and makes makes $200,000 a year is going to get the messages or going to get the likes and going to get the so on and so forth. But the guy making 50 grand, who's like, you know, the local plumber and just is a regular looking dude,
and probably would make
a great husband.
Those women way happier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Genuinely happier.
Yeah.
Are overlooked. That's really interesting.
Yeah. It's not. So you would probably do absolutely fine.
I don't know that I'm. Yeah.
You would probably do absolutely fine. Okay, one more question, and then I'm gonna let you go. All right. Actually, 2 more questions, but the first question is, if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. What was the strangest thing that you were asked to do where you said absolutely not?
Strangest thing. Let's see.
I mean, it could be anything. I've heard from stories from chewing gum in front of me to like, you know.
But, you know, I mean, people like, I'll tell you a strange thing and then I'll tell you a true story that did happen.
Okay.
Probably like for me, this one of the strangest things that I like really had a hard time, because I try and keep an open mind, but like burping in front of people, but like selling, like me burping.
Really?
Or like farting, or like, I'm like, no, like
really? That's like, amazing.
Like my mom would be so disappointed in me.
That's hysterical. This is a TikTok clip, by the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like, I'm like, no.
Just letting you know that this is going to be on TikTok. I'm definitely clipping this. That's hysterical.
It's true. No, it's honestly true. But
So you've had guys that wanted to pay you to fart in front of them or on them, or both.
Both, or just a video of it.
Really?
And I can't do it.
Oh my God.
I can't do it. I literally like, I don't blush, but I'm totally blushing. Like, I literally am like, no, like, I am not doing
I was not expecting that.
Like $200, like, I mean, not like little.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I can't do that. No way.
I was not expecting that at all.
But, and you probably don't expect this either. So I've arm wrestled since I was a little girl.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Paid part of my rent money in college. I'd arm wrestle football players.
I interview a ton of arm wrestlers.
Yes. So, but that is also how I broke my arm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was arm wrestling, beat the dude. His buddies were teasing him. I wasn't really trying to bruise his ego through my arm, but compound fracture, bone out, humerus broke all the way through.
Wow.
So that's also a one that I get all the time. Like, will you arm wrestle? Which I used to all the time.
Yeah.
Before that injury.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Did you arm wrestle professionally, or
no? I never did.
Just like for the guys that wanted to.
Yeah, and I was always like really good at it. So then obviously in college I was like, shoot, I can make money doing like arm wrestle anybody, you know.
Yeah, right. But that's so funny. All right, the other question I'm going to ask you, if you can, just tell the audience out there to please like and subscribe and share with the world Serious and Silliness YouTube podcast.
Yes, you guys have to like, subscribe to Serious and Silliness.
Thank you very much, Aleesha. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And don't go away, because I got to send you a shirt.
Yes, you better.
Okay, hold on.